You know, when I come in to work in the morning, one of the first things I see as I'm proceeding into the downtown area is the skyline. And when you see that downtown of our city, the skyline, it's kind of cool to go, wow, I police the city.
Congratulations on a year.
Thank you.
How's it feel?
It feels really good. It feels really good. You know, this is something I've always wanted to do, and to have completed an official full year as the permanent chief, I'm very happy.
Okay, so it's a dream realized.
Yes.
Does it live up to the ideal, what you thought it was going to be?
It does. It lives up to it and more. There's so much to this job, and you know, I talked to previous chiefs, and they kind of told me, you know, you don't know what you're going to expect until it's in front of you, and they're right. I mean, every day is different. You know, it's a little hard to make everybody happy, and so I've just come to realize just do what's best for the department, what's best for the city, and chips fall where they may.
Yeah, a little more politics probably than you thought.
A little bit.
So what has been the most surprising thing?
The most pleasantly surprising thing is really how many people recognize me when I'm not working, so I'm not in my uniform. I can be anywhere in the city and just outside the city, and how unbelievably kind those individuals are when I talk to them. I've not had one encounter where somebody wanted to tell me that, you know, an officer was rude or disrespectful. Every encounter I've had has been a positive one.
That's good. So that's the pleasant surprise.
That's the pleasant surprise.
Are there unpleasant surprises?
I guess some of the surprises that I find a little more challenging, I wouldn't say they're unpleasant, but they're a little more challenging, is making a decision that I think is best for the department or best for the city, but somebody not liking it. Because, you know, I just want everybody to be happy. I want the cops to be happy. I want the citizens to be happy. I want the administration to be happy. But I've come to realize I'm not going to make them all happy. So I have to do what's best for the department.
In the last year, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I think there's a couple things personally. I'm very proud of my husband and how supportive he's been during this time. This is not easy for him either. I'm very proud of my family and my friends and how they've rallied around me. Internally, I am so unbelievably proud of the work the men and women of this department do every single day. Some of it gets noticed, but most of it goes unnoticed. And they don't do it for the thanks, they do it because they're dedicated employees.
You talked about your husband.
Yeah.
This is not a 9-to-5 job, is it?
Not at all. Not at all.
Was that a little bit of a surprise to you, how, like, your phone's ringing at midnight, 2 in the morning, all hours of the day?
Right. It's not really a surprise for me, but, you know, when you're the chief, there is nobody to defer that call to. You know, when you're an assistant chief, if you're unavailable, you can defer it to a captain or another assistant chief. I personally don't want to defer a lot of the responsibilities to anybody. I like taking it on myself. I do know there's times where, you know, I have to defer it, and that's good. But that's kind of been, I guess, the most learning experience for me in this year, is letting go of some of the responsibility I've had the last couple of years. I'm fully staffed with tremendously competent assistant chiefs right now. And so it's learning to let go and let them take the reins on some things.
You talk about fully staffed. As an assistant chief level, you are.
Yes.
One of the biggest challenges I would imagine has been that there have been a lot of early retirements from the department. A lot of people leaving, law enforcement in general. Mm-hmm. So I know you just had a recruit class graduate, but that can't make up for enough. What do you do?
Right. So you're right. Last Friday, we had a recruit class, 46 Cincinnati and 1 UC that we trained, graduated. And in 6 weeks, which is a very short time span, but in 6 weeks, we will be starting the 115th recruit class. I selected 60 individuals for that class. And so they will then be in the academy for 7 months and then with training officers. And while all that's going on, we are now testing for the 116th class, which will be about the fall of 2024. So we are really gearing up our recruiting efforts and trying to have classes about every 9 months just so that we can stay up with our attrition rate. We are down about 120. It fluctuates because we hire and people resign or retire, so it fluctuates, but approximately 120. And many of those are because we didn't hire for many years. And so those people that hired 25, 30 years ago, they're retiring now. And so we're trying to catch up from the years that we didn't hire, didn't have recruit classes.
Other departments are using retention bonuses to keep some of those folks around, keep some of that experience in-house. Are you considering that?
So we are looking at some options. What's challenging for us, it's not as simple as just pay somebody to stay, because our pension system dictates when somebody must leave. So it becomes challenging if you have an officer who can stay another 15 years and you want to give them a retention bonus, then how do you handle a retention bonus for somebody who has to leave in 1 year? And so it's how do you divvy up any bonus money equally and equitably?
So it is something you do want to do, though.
We're looking at it. We're looking at it.
Also, I talked to some guys on the street, some of the men and women in your forces. One of the things that they talk about is facial hair. It's been on your desk for a little while, maybe about a year?
A little less than a year. Mm-hmm.
Are you against the facial hair change, or is that something that you'll give on?
Yeah. So, I kind of self-proclaimed traditionalist, and traditionally we have not had facial hairs unless you have a shaving exemption. But I've worked with my planning folks who write our procedures and our policies for us, and I'm happy to say they submitted me with one proposal. I had some revisions to it, sent it back to them. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, our officers will see a pilot beard program for our department. And I'm a big believer in pilot programs because you want to see if it works or if it doesn't work. And so it will give them the year of 2024 to hopefully show compliance with a beard policy that I find acceptable.
Wow, so this is something is happening. Something is going to be happening in the next few weeks.
Yes, it is.
Do you think that's going to make people go, okay, cool, we're kind of evolving as a police force, and maybe I don't want to go to Loveland or somewhere else where I can do this?
Yeah, so to me, my first approach to this was, why does the beard make a difference if they want to be here or not? But what I heard was from individuals, it does make a difference. So I have to listen to them. I hear from my recruiters that it is a concern when people think about applying to our job, and that they have lost good candidates because they have to shave their beards. So it's a far-fetched for me to do this, but I'm going to do it.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you came up at a time when, you wore your hats everywhere, like the whole thing, right? It really was very formal.
Right.
I don't know if I'm using the right words for that.
It was very structured. It was very, very paramilitary organization with very structured policies and procedures. You're right. You didn't see anybody with beards. Everybody wore their hat. And come on, when I came on, we couldn't wear fingernail polish.
You couldn't?
No, we
Look
couldn't
how
wear
far
it.
we've come. I was thinking about this retention policy thing. Is City Hall behind something like that? Are they good with that idea? If you wanted to move forward with some plan, are they good with that?
Yeah, so what I have found with this city administration, and all of them collectively when I say that, is they are very supportive with any ideas I bring forward. We always have a budget concern with everything that has a financial cost to it, so we have to look at that. But they are open to any ideas. They recognize the pain points that we have right now in our staffing levels, and so anything that we can make happen within the budget, they're open to.
Because I think there's some fear that they're trying to get to depolice by attrition. Do you feel that's true?
Not at all. In fact, it's been the furthest from the conversations that I've had with the city. What I've been told is plan to have a class of 50 to 60 officers every 9 months for the next several years. That is what they are budgeting because they know our staffing levels. And what the challenge now is, though, finding the candidates to fill those seats. But the support is there from City Hall to up our staffing levels.
We've seen juvenile violence spike in this city. I don't know why. Do you have any ideas why? And I know that's got to be one of the challenges you've faced over the past year, too.
It is. It is. This is something that we have seen slowly progress since COVID. And I am not a big believer of blaming COVID for where we are as a society today. We have to take responsibility for that. But COVID may have been the catalyst to get us where we are. But COVID is several years in our rearview mirror now. So we need to wrap our arms and get things back to some sense of normalcy. And what I'm seeing with young youth in our community is a lack of accountability. Anybody holding them accountable, whether it's the family structure, whether it's the school system, whether it's the courts. And unfortunately, what happens when you have that lack of accountability is the youth conduct ends up at the feet of the police. And we just can't have that. We should not be the solution to every problem, not at all.
I love that. You actually said, we can't police our way out of this.
Right.
At one point this past summer. Right. So what are the solutions? How do you say, hey, family, you have to hold these kids accountable? Hey, judges, what do you do?
Yeah, so we have started some conversations about where is the court system when it comes to the youth that the police are arresting? How is that being handled? And I'm happy to sit at the table with anybody around any topic to come up with solutions, but we've got to start the conversation somewhere. So I've spoken with the prosecutor's office. I'll be speaking with the juvenile court system and their administrators to find out some kind of solution, because we can't have a revolving door. The officers cannot feel like their work is going for nothing when nobody is held accountable, because they face the same individuals over and over again. And we used to see that with adults, but it's really disheartening when you're seeing it with juveniles.
I was talking to a police officer who retired last year, and he was saying part of the reason he retired was he didn't want to be forced to have to shoot a 14-year-old.
Yeah, you hit that nail right on the head. I've had people before say, what weighs on your mind the most? And I tell people, what keeps me up at night? It used to be a police officer having to get involved in a shooting. Now it's heightened to an officer getting involved in a shooting that may involve a 12, 13, 14-year-old individual. I don't want the officers to feel like they can't protect themselves or others because somebody's a juvenile, but I know they're human. They do not ever want to take a life, especially a life of a juvenile.
2024 started with a 17-year-old first homicide victim.
Correct.
So is that the biggest challenge for you in this next year?
Yeah, for a couple of years now, we have been watching the shooting data daily. Shooting incidents, shooting victims, how many, where, all of that. We've ramped our strategies around gun violence with CJIC, NIBIN, E-Trace, all of that. But unfortunately, what 2023 showed us was we have to drill down even more on the shooting data, because now we are tallying juvenile-involved shooting incidents. I've never had to do that before in my career.
You added a column, in fact.
We added a column for juveniles.
About specifically for juveniles.
Correct.
It's kind of a sad statement.
It's very sad. It's very sad. And what it tells me is, are they doing this because they feel like they're hopeless? If that's the case, then what can we as a society change to give them hope? Why are they reverting to this gun violence? Social media. I couldn't imagine being a teenager in today's day with social media. Wouldn't want to go back that far for anything. So I don't know. I don't know what is causing it. All I know is we have to do something about it.
What do you want to do in the next year?
Let's see. What do I want to do in the next year? Continue to reduce our gun violence. This morning was our first day of our continual professional training, so we call it CPT, day one for all of our officers. So every sworn member has to go to CPT training. I start that day, the first hour from 8 to 9 with State of the Department. So I was in there with a room full of officers just telling them anything and everything that they wanted to know about the police department. What's going on? What's not going on? Why? Where are we with this or that? So I talked to them about that. I want them to get involved. I want them to help me decide where does this department go next, whether it's around recruiting efforts, retention efforts, gun violence reduction. I want to hear from them. They're the smartest people out there. You know, I just get to be the face of the department. They're doing the work every single day.
So, what are when you look at 2024, and I don't know that you do this, but you go, okay, here I am. I'm in my second year. When we sit down again a year from now, and I hope we do, what do you think? What do you hope we get to talk about?
I hope we talk about that we as a city have made major strides around gun violence, especially juvenile gun violence. I hope that we get to say we have made strides around mental health in this city and the individuals that the police encounter over and over again with mental health issues. I'm also sitting down with many of our social service agencies of mental health, again, kind of like the juveniles, to say this problem should not be a police problem. You're the resources. I'll work with you, but you got to work with me too. So I hope a year from now we're saying we've made strides in that area. I hope I'm able to say our staffing levels are climbing, you know, that we're making progress there. You know, 2024 is probably going to bring a contract negotiation with the FOP. I hope that the officers are happy with where the city has taken their contract negotiations. So there's a lot going on.
You've got a new FOP president. I forgot about that.
We do. We have a new FOP president. He took office back in December.
Different times are changing. How long do you want to be police chief?
So when this selection process was going on, I thought I was very near the end of my career. I had a conversation with the city manager. It was a very grueling process, not just for the people who applied, but also for her to make this decision. And she had asked me at that time, how long would I be willing to stay? And I told her back then, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I love my job, I will give you a minimum of 5 years. So hopefully we'll be doing this a few more times.
I hope we will. So after the George Floyd situation, you felt this pullback. Communities didn't want police in their communities. They said, you know what, we don't want you. We don't want you coming around. It felt like that at least. And the vocal people said no. But it feels like that's reverting a little bit. And help me if I'm wrong here. The communities are starting to say, okay, we do need you, and here's why.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, you know, I always categorize things. I used to do this with my kids. Is this something you need or is this something you want? And what the communities, they thought they didn't need us. And now you're right, we're seeing them coming forward and saying, not only do we need you, we want you. We want you in our communities. You know, the George Floyd incident changed policing across this whole country. There's no doubt about it. You know, so what happens in one area of this country affects law enforcement in every part of the country. That is a true lesson learned there. But if we can just keep building on our 20 years of our work with our communities, we're just going to keep growing stronger. And, you know, I'm happy to use the West End as the biggest opportunity in front of us right now for police-community relations.
Is there anything you want to talk about? I feel like I've just been crushing you with questions. So.
No, you know.
You happy?
I'm extremely happy. I'm very, very happy. You know, people ask me all the time, or they'll comment, oh, I don't know how you do that job. Oh my gosh, it's got to be so stressful. It is very stressful. There's no doubt about it. It's very stressful. But I wouldn't change a single day. You know, my 33rd year was in September. I would not change one day of 33 plus years. Some of them are more challenging than others. Some of them are more stressful than others. But the good, the bad, the difficult times, they've all been a tremendous learning experience for me to prepare me for this. And you know, I just want to do right by the cops. I really do. I want to do right by the community. I want to do right by the city administration. I owe it to all of them to be the best that I can be. I mean, you know, we're making great strides in our officer wellness You know,
That's been a big focus for you.
That's been a very big focus for me. Very big. You know, my father used to be in law enforcement. I lost my father to suicide. And then several years ago, we lost a sergeant on our department to suicide. And that taught us that, you know, we need to take a different approach here. Talking about officer wellness used to be like a taboo subject. You didn't want to talk about it. I'm happy that our wellness program has taken off just amazingly well, and the officers are extremely receptive to it, and I just want to continue to build on that program.
Tell me I'm wrong here, but you put in an app, et cetera. It's not just for the officers, it's for the officers' families. Because my brother's a police officer in California. His wife feels it every day,
Yes.
every single day. So it's not just the officer, it's the people in their lives too. Have you found that that's been important?
Yes, that's been very important. And I think one of the biggest reasons why our wellness program is doing well, one is because we have a tremendous wellness coordinator. She does a great amount of work for these officers. But as the chief, I also had to learn to step back away from it. Like, I don't want to know what the officers are using the wellness program for. I just need to know they're using it.
Are they?
They are using it, yes. I can tell, I can be told, I should say, how many times the app is being used, and those numbers are high, which is a good sign. But I don't want to know who's using it. I don't want to know why they're using it. I don't want to know who's reaching out to the wellness unit or why. I just want to know they're using the resources that are available to them right now for their own wellness and their family's wellness.
It's important that they know that they're not bulletproof, mentally or physically, right?
Right. I think they've come to realize that what they see every day will eventually wear on them. And sometimes they just need to talk about it. Sometimes we're not known for sharing our feelings very well. And so some officers, I imagine, go home and probably don't share with their family what they're experiencing at work. So, and that's fine if that's their choice. But just for them to know there are some people out there that they can talk to, just to share what they've seen or what they're feeling or what they're thinking is a good thing.